Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Thank you again for joining us. This week, our guest of the week, his first time on the Last Round Boxing Podcast. He just came off a win in the inaugural show of Zuffa Boxing in Las Vegas on Paramount with a win over Sugar Cane Sandoval, who was also a previous guest here on the Last Round. Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez, 25-1 with 15 knockouts, joins us this week. Thank you for joining us, Julian.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be on, and I'm ready to go.
We appreciate it, man. So just like we were talking about just before we started recording here, we want to give you a chance to kind of give listeners who are listening right now a little background on I guess your journey up until this point. You know, let's start with when was the first time you really noticed the sport of boxing? How old were you?
I was 7 years old. At the time, my mom took on these classes to be an esthetician. So after school, she wasn't available to watch me. So at the time, my stepdad would bring me to the gym, but I would just sit there and watch him train. But at the time, I was a big fan of the WWF. At the time, now it's WWE, and I would get in the ring throughout the training sessions and do like the Rey Mysterio moves. And I could have sworn I was The Rock. I did all the eyebrow stuff, and he would yell at me and say, "Come on, get out! If you're gonna go in the ring, it's to do the real shit, not that fake stuff." And so eventually, out of boredom, I just started like hitting the bags and stuff. And, looking back now, I don't know if the coaches were blowing smoke, but they were like, wow, like you look at those punches, look how they sound, you're really good. You should try to do this for real. So I started training for like 2 weeks, and then they put me to spar to test my heart and my courage and things. And they put me up against a kid that was bigger than me and was older than me and was actually like a fighter. He would compete. And so, I didn't understand boxing at this time. So I'm here thinking it's just a game. It's supposed to be fun. And, it's like a big game of tag kind of, and I got in the ring and I just beat this kid up so bad. And I saw him bleeding and he was crying and his dad started yelling at him. So I was like, uh-oh. Like his dad cut the sparring and was like, get out of the ring. And my coaches and my stepdad took me to the back room and they were like, do you see what you just did? That kid actually trains and you were just playing around. You only been here for 2 weeks. And, look what you did to that kid. You have something. So I started training, and within 2 years, so once I started training, my stepdad stopped training as a fighter himself and just focused on being my coach. And within 2 years, I was ranked number 1 in the country for my division. And from then on, we both learned throughout this journey, through amateur boxing, traveling. We befriended a lot of major fighters, teams that you know of today, like Calvin and Tank Davis and the Gary Russells. And we would go to California and California at that time, and probably still today, is like such a hotbed for boxing and competitiveness. So every summer we would spend over there and learn from all those teams. And just through the years, we just, we became very successful. I was ranked number 1 in the country consecutively every year. There were some rare times where maybe I'll take the second place or something like that, but for the most part, we were winning everything hands down. And I had a pro style very young, because when I was 12 years old, I was sparring pros already. My previous assistant coach, Butch Sanchez, he had a lot of world champions. And he had me sparring his 108 world champion, Carlos Tamara. He beat Brian Valoria for the title. And so I'm 12 years old, 12, 13, sparring these world champion pros. So I developed a pro style very early, body shots and, focusing on trying to hurt my opponents as opposed to, utilizing the point system. And when I was 17 years old, I became the Olympic alternate for 2012, for the 2012 Olympic team for London. And then a year later, I signed with Top Rank, and I wrote out a nice 8-year, 8 years with them. They got me to, I believe, 22-1 or something around there. And yeah, there was some times where I had to stay out of the ring due to injury or, managerial issues or things like that, political stuff. But now I'm back. I have a great team behind me, great managers, Dmitry Popov and Steve Baharnis. These are guys that I brought into the boxing world myself, and they're doing a great job, very business savvy, and above all, they actually care about me. They're more of my friend than any business partner. So I brought them in, and things have been great since I brought them in on my team. I started fighting on these MVP cards, and I signed the deal with Zuffa Boxing. And my career now is the best that it's ever been in terms of like positioning. I have trainers around me. My stepdad is still in my corner. Yeah. So, I mean, that's sort of where we're at now.
You talked about being a fan of the WWF, which is WWE now. What is your, I guess, most prominent memory of watching professional wrestling growing up?
Oh man, my family used to take me all the time, and I think it was a show at the Garden one time that I went to. I believe it was the Garden, or maybe Continental Airline Arena in New Jersey. Either one of the other, but it was when The Rock came out, like at the end of like the last match, and I don't even think he was supposed to be on the show, or he was advertised to be on the show. So like it was a big surprise, and he was my favorite wrestler growing up. And he came and did his move, the rock bottom, on like Vince McMahon, Stone Cold, and I think it was Kurt Angle or Shane McMahon. Like he just beat up everybody, and then he left. But that 10 minutes, man, really stuck with me. And there's also a big WWE star now who comes from where I live now. So her name is Liv Morgan. And she is a WWE Women's Champion, and her career has catapulted over the last few years, crazy. And we're good friends.
I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit here, but you're with Zuffa Boxing now, TKO, WWE. Are we going to see you in Royal Rumble next year?
Yeah, you never know.
You never know, man. I think the machine behind TKO is. TKO Group Holdings, I think it's the machine, man. They can make anything happen. I think they can make anyone into a superstar, and they have the ability to scope out superstar talent. And they seem to have a lot of plans with me, and so they seem to be real high on me. And I'm not taking that with. I'm just very grateful for that. So I'm putting in the work. As you see, it's 10 o'clock over here, and I just got done with my boxing session. Yeah, I'm giving it all I have. It's been a while since I felt secure with a promotional company, because there was a few years where I was kind of, a free agent. And after being with Top Rank for 8 years and having that security and that type of activity in the ring, it was like night and day when I didn't have them or didn't have any promoter like in that time. I mean, I was dealing with other like a management problem. So in order for me to move on to a different promoter, I had to make sure that was solid and fixed. But, it took a while, and the number one killer, I think, for an athlete in general is inactivity. So, during that inactivity, I was going through mental things because my body wasn't really recognizing the person I was anymore. like I said, I started boxing when I was 7 years old, and my stepdad at first didn't have, the experience to be a good trainer. So he would look up all these world champions, Oscar De La Hoya, Roy Jones, and stuff, and he would train me like how they were being trained, as a professional. So at 7, 8 years old, I'm waking up at 5 in the morning, running 5 miles every day, and I wasn't allowed out of the house for fun. Everything was boxing, and because of that, we were able to be extremely successful in terms of just winning and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Julian, do you remember the first time you got punched in the face where you realized, like, okay, this is real? Like, that hurt. Do you remember that time?
Well, not specifically. I mean, there was a lot of times like that. I think actually, it's funny you say that because when I started boxing, there wasn't many kids in that specific gym. I grew up in Hudson County in North Bergen, where the Cinderella Man is from, James Braddock. And there were no kids, so my stepdad would have to spar me. And one day, when I still thought it was a game, I was sparring him and he was hitting me, and I was making faces and making a joke to him in the ring, and he hit me with a body shot that I still feel to this day. I'm sure I still have a crack in my rib from it. And I went down, all the air came out. I was so mad at him. I came home right away, told my mother. I made it such a big deal. And he was like, yeah, well, we're sparring. We're in the gym. This is it's a serious thing. And he's over there and he thinks it's a joke. So I had to tell him, I had to show him that it wasn't a joke. I wasn't joking in that ring for the rest of my life since then. So, I guess he was very effective in his methods,
And you still wanted to return after that, even after taking a shot like that.
Yeah, well, when you live with your trainer, sometimes you don't have a choice, and, but all jokes aside, even as a young kid, I realized how much energy and time and passion that he put into me as a young kid. And even when the times were dark or hard, or when I really wanted to go out and be a kid and play with friends at the park, that always kept in the back of my mind. And he would work real hard to make money to send me on these trips that cost thousands of dollars, And no matter how many times I wanted to leave the sport as a kid or play in that park, I always just thought of that over anything else. And, just the fact that he dedicated so much of his time, and just my family in general. When we would travel, my mom would have to come, my siblings would have to come, and, it was boring because when we would go to these tournaments, he was very strict, and it was, no, we came here for a reason. We're not going to these museums. We're not going to this water park over here. We're going to come here and fight. We're here to fight. There's no going in the pool. There's nothing like that. So I would stay in the hotel room all day, resting for the fights. So it wasn't, it was just a lot of life lessons that I learned throughout these experiences. And that's what I hold valuable. You know what I mean? When I look back now, it's all those moments I spent with my family and all the things I learned on the road and through victory and sometimes defeat and stuff. And these are lessons that I implement in my children today.
I saw that you said, Julian, that those early times made you a little bit shy, a little bit introverted because you were really just spending all of your time with your family.
Yeah. 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 You know what I mean? There wasn't, because of that, I realized that I didn't develop certain social skills until later on in life. And that there's pros and cons to that, So like when I was younger, in order to keep myself stimulated in the house, I started picking up art. I started drawing things, and then I started picking up instruments. And, I'm not really vocal about this aspect of my life, but I'm very much into music and music production. And that's something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, even when I'm 60, 70 years old, God willing, I make it to that age. But, this is something like I learned how to keep myself occupied and, and I still carry a lot of those hobbies and passions today. And it grounds me, when I'm coming home from the gym and I'm tired physically, I'm able to tap into a different part of my mind and utilize, my creativity for music, and also it would keep me in the house as a teenager. Once I did start getting to an age where I started having more freedom, like 18, 19, on Friday and Saturday nights, a lot of the times I was in the basement making music, so at that age, my parents really started to be okay with the fact that I had other interests. Whereas when I was younger, my stepdad hated the fact that, like, if I had any type of interest aside from boxing. There was one year that I was 9 years old and I wanted to try baseball for a season. Oh my God, he didn't talk to me for the whole fucking season. So like, and I'm here 9 years old, like, I just want to play baseball with my friends, and he was so like mean about it. But I get it because, he devoted so much time and listen, there is a method to the madness sometimes, and like he definitely played on my anger. Also, like, there was a way, it's a form of manipulation too, where it's like, oh, you don't want to focus on this? Okay, then I'm going to take a step back and not really focus on you. And so like that dynamic was weird to me, like, but it got the best out of me. It's so crazy how like he utilized these things, and like to regular civilians or people outside of the boxing world, they will be like, oh, that's abusive and all this. But I would not be here. I would not be the person I am. I would not have this mindset if it wasn't for those tactics. Like I would come to the corner sometimes in between rounds, even in a fight, like an actual competition. And if I could be beating the guy up, but if I'm not doing what he's asking specifically, he would scream in my face. He would, hit my headgear or get all up in my face. And I was scared to death of him. So like, I'm not going to, retaliate towards him. So like he would get in my face and yell, and then all of a sudden, ding. And then he's like, all right, now go. And now my opponent is dealing with all this anger that I had built up inside me. So like, man, like I really am so grateful for that, because if he was any other way, I'm telling you, I would have left boxing. If he showed me any type of softness or any type of chink in his armor, I would have definitely went a different way in my life. So, kudos to him, man, because at the time I hated it. But, if it wasn't for him, I would not be in this position in my career today. And I wouldn't have developed the certain skills or grit that I know that I have deep down inside, because he definitely knew how to pull it out of me.
I saw that as a child, you spent a little bit of time around Arturo Gatti. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, I have very few memories around him. My first manager as a pro was Pat Lynch, which was his manager throughout his career. Great guy, and always treated me with respect and transparency and everything. But when I was younger, because we're from the same area, Hudson County, he would always be at these little club shows, local shows and banquet halls and stuff. And, he would be, by the time I would get to the shows, he was already there with his crowd of friends by the bar, and he would be intoxicated. And every time I would walk by, when I was young, I had big curly hair. And he'd be like, oh, shit, it's the fucking kid with the hair. Come here. And, shadow box. So I'll be here shadow boxing in front of him and all his drunk friends and shit. And they're yelling all crazy. So I have those memories with him. A lot of my older teammates that I had growing up had more memories with him and sparred him and stuff like that. But for me, my memories with him were from when I was a kid and like at those shows,
Hudson County, New Jersey. What is it about New Jersey in that area that creates so many good fighters?
It's just like a working class thing, man. Like, I think there's a lot of history there. You're right along the Hudson River overlooking New York, so your dreams are right there, right across the bridge. You're across the bridge to the greatest city in the world, bright lights, opportunity, and just my whole life. Like I was always pushed to do something that wasn't mediocre. And, when you live so close to these big, bright lights, there's nothing that seems impossible to do. especially when you're on that path, when you're winning and you're being successful. And then also, I'm meeting a lot of celebrities left and right, especially in the boxing world, Mike Tyson and Arturo Gatti and Roy Jones and all these people. And but as far as the county in general, it's gritty. You know what I mean? You deal with a lot, and there's a way to navigate it. You just can't get caught up in certain things. But Hoboken, New Jersey. I was born in Hoboken. You got Frank Sinatra who's super iconic from there, and I'm one that resonates with wherever I am. I'm the type of person that, like, wherever I travel, I'm always looking up the history of that area. Like, I want to feel this history here. Who lived here 100 years ago, and like, how did they navigate these streets? How did they navigate life or this weather or whatever? You know what I mean? I like to ground myself in that regard. You had Rockefeller had a bunch of properties along these cliffs that I'm running along. So if I look back and look up 100 years ago, and I'll see like this big stone mansion over here, but if you go there today, there's like little remnants of it. And it's like, holy shit, like I'm standing on where the garage used to be in fucking Rockefeller's mansion along these cliffs. And I'm here doing my road work on this. So it's very symbolic for me. But I know not everyone perceives things that way, but I do, because I think it just brings out it just gives me more purpose to like make my people proud and just do something that I resonate with, and I also implement that in my kids too. I'm also like a history buff with them. Like, oh, the history of Fort Lee is the first Hollywood ever. Like, come on. And my son is like looking at his phone and playing Roblox, and I'm like, come on, isn't this cool? Look at this rock. This was from Rockefeller's house, and he's like, yeah, that's cool. Whatever, but I know in 20, 30 years, he's going to appreciate all these things. And because that's just how I'm raising him to appreciate certain things and know where you come from and utilize it and channel it to get what you want out of it. Everything is the power of the mind and how you channel everything. So that's sort of where I'm at now, and yeah, in my darkest times in my life, it's probably like from 2022 to 2024, short span of time, but it's the most time I spent out of the ring and out of the Hammer Hands light. I learned a lot about myself, my faults, and ways to get out of them. And I had to dig deep, man. I had to go into those things where I'm trying to ground myself and with history and where I'm at and things that I resonate with on a spiritual level, on a physical sense, like all these things. Before those down years, if someone were to say that to me, I'd be like, okay, whatever, cliche. But nah, man, it's real, and I'm able to really channel these things, and I'm really becoming like the best version of myself.
Would you want him to box, your son?
No, but I definitely would like him to be active, and he plays a lot of sports in general, but he really likes soccer. But as far as competing on a professional level or no, I wouldn't want that for him. It's the reason I get hit in the head so that he can, live on different terms. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I wouldn't want him to have to go through that because I know what it takes. And you know what? You really learn when you go through losses, and that's with everything in life, But yeah, I'd rather have like avoid him getting hit in the head and taking trauma over the years. Like for what? I wouldn't want that for him.
Julian, you talked about experiencing that low point in your life, 2022 to 2024. How do you think you got through something like that?
Oh man, my family, and it's pretty much it, man. Just my family. I have a very strong family, very supportive family. My father, my mom, my uncles played a really big role. I'm grateful and blessed enough to have my grandparents around, and they're getting up there in age, and they came from different countries, both of them, and so they've been through a lot, and they understand life on a whole different level. And so just leaning on them in terms of, for support, or just when I know I'm not myself, just maybe asking them about their life, or just hearing them, or just feeling that I have that type of, my ancestors around. Again, I had to dig deep and look at things on a deeper level to pull myself out of these holes that I was in. So yeah, my family, and they still are very supportive, and they still are helping me with things today. And yeah, family is very important for me.
You mentioned a couple minutes ago leaning into music, that you're very into music and producing and all that. Did you kind of still lean into that during that time?
I did, I did. But I was in a relationship at the time, and the woman that I was in a relationship with, I wasn't comfortable enough to be myself. And like rightfully so, like, hey, and she didn't understand the boxing world. I didn't meet her at a time where I was, Mr. Rockstar Hammerhand. So like, she didn't know what boxing could bring me personally, especially when she came in my life. And then I was okay for a little while with finances, and then all this stuff happened, and then I kind of lost everything. And then she just didn't look at me with hope or anything like that. So I started working regular jobs because I have two children. So like, I have two jobs. I had to work jobs, and I just felt so much less of a man to be on the computer playing with fucking sounds while like, she's working, and like my kids need to be fed, and like I'm not in the gym. I just felt so down on myself, and I would still do it because it does something for me therapeutically. But yeah, she just wasn't supportive in that regard. And not that she was mean about it or anything like that, but it was more so like I just didn't feel comfortable being myself around her. I felt like she was judgmental and stuff. So like, it forced me to like, go and work jobs so that I can give her money for these bills and stuff like that, so I can feel like more of a man, because I really did like her. But it's just, I was really trying and stuff like that. But I shouldn't have been even in a relationship at that time. I've learned that as a man, it's best to focus on yourself, get yourself to a specific place, where you have things in order, especially at this age. I'm not in my early 20s, you know what I mean? I'm in my 30s now. Like, I need to have my finances stable. I need to have a stable home. I need to have a vehicle that doesn't break down every 2 days. Like, it's about being responsible, especially when you have two children. So some harsh times where I had to learn harsh lessons, but I got through it, and I felt what I needed to feel in order to not want to feel that shit again. And I studied about investments at that time, and just a lot of different things. But as ugly as I make that time sound, it was pretty much one of the most pivotal moments in my life, where a lot of things revealed themselves to me about how the world works. So thank God that I've been granted this new opportunity with having these people in my life that put me in these positions with these companies, and who saw the value in me even at a time where I was out of the ring and stuff like that. And yeah, and little step by step, and we're fucking here now, so, and what I learned in that time, because I was when you grow up winning at everything, it fuels your entitlement a little bit. So I was so used to winning. And then when I started getting in my late teens, early 20s, in my mind, it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'll go and fight this fucking guy and beat him. And then, I can go be hammer hands outside the ring. That was so fun for me. The attention, the women and stuff like that. Or going to buy whatever clothes I want, or going to buy whatever I wanted to buy growing up as a child. I could just go and buy at one time, like, it was mind boggling to me. And I got lost in that for a while. And to this day, since I'm 18 years old when I turned pro, I've never given boxing 100%. Never. And I look around and I'm like, how the fuck am I in this position now? I'm 25-1. There were times where like I would party a lot and drive crazy fast cars, and I'll be, just out there living like I was a fucking rap star or something. And, or I would spread myself too thin. Like I have a lot of talents, but like this is my career, and there's a small window, and like maybe it's not the time to go and do all these singing shows or rapping shows in clubs, even if I'm in the gym and stuff like that. But I just spread myself too thin. And if I utilized all that energy that I spread to everything else and I put it towards boxing, brother, I would have been a multi-millionaire already with sitting on 10 residential properties, bro. Multi-units, which is my goal for after boxing. I really want to get into the real estate game. I've had a lot of real estate mentors around me growing up, so that's sort of the area I want to go in terms of of business after boxing. But yeah, man, like I spread myself so thin. So like nowadays when I look back and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm so lucky and that I've been blessed with like to still be in the game here. And not only that, but like now I'm in the best position I've ever been in my career. So like I'm 100% focused in these days. And not saying that I had a bunch of problems or whatever, but maybe I wouldn't stick to my diet so much because I'm outside and and I want to eat this food, or I want to go to this fancy restaurant because I have this hot girl next to me and I want to feel good with her that we're out eating and we could take a picture for fucking Instagram, like stupid things that don't matter at the end of the day. But that's when someone gets lost in the sauce, you know what I mean? So I outgrew that. I could care less about clubs or anything like that. I still love music, but I haven't done anything in a while. I'm more of a songwriter now anyway, songwriter producer. I'm not really like trying to be an artist or anything, but I'm very much into the arts, and I feel like it does something for me therapeutically. I'm able to express myself in ways that I'm not in other ways. I love film. I love the idea of acting. I'm just interested in it. I know it's something I can't really direct my focus to now, but it's cool for me to understand and know that there are other things that I'm passionate about. Whereas before, the thought of me not being a boxer, I wanted to kill myself. I'm like, brother, this has to be it. This has to be it. I need to succeed in this. I dedicated my whole life to this. If I don't become this, and I don't know like how I'll feel about myself, how my mental health would be, because like again, I was a winner my whole life, so it kind of sets a certain standard, and it fuels your ego to a degree. So especially seeing a lot of people that I grew up with and beat in the amateurs are now like whipping around Ferraris and living in mansions, and I'm like still playing catch up. You know what I mean? So for a while there was a lot of I felt scorned by boxing. Even when I would have an injury, I had two career-ending injuries, and I got through them. And then I got through that little management, hiatus. And it's just a matter of like, man, I don't know how I'm still here, but I'm here, and I'm in the best fucking place in my career. And I have this grateful feeling, but like I know I have to give it 100% because this shit could be gone tomorrow. So I'm just really locked in. My priorities are so straight these days. I'm so locked in. I haven't touched a computer for music in over a year. There's a lot of things that are on hold, and even the positive distractions. Like for a while, I'd never had camps that were. I didn't want to have camps that were out of state because then I would leave my children. And my children are a big source of my motivation and my mental stability, things like that. I really enjoy being a father. But it's game time. They're gonna know. They're gonna respect me. They're gonna appreciate the fact that I'm doing this for my lineage, my bloodline. I ideally would like to have a lot of children. And I got to be the man who I'm supposed to be. Who I got to make that 7-year-old boy proud, which was myself. I got to fulfill that kid's dream, and I'm right there. So I've learned so much, man. And I know I rambled a lot, but like, dude, there's so many. I could sit here for 5 days and talk about the life lessons I learned throughout all this.
Rewinding a little bit, Julian, because like you said a lot there. If you don't mind saying, what's the most money you've blown in one day?
In one day,
or at least maybe in a short amount of time, right?
Like a night out or something like that. Not like a car or a house. Like you've just gone crazy.
Yeah, like a night out. Okay. I would say maybe 15,000. Something like that.
Do you regret it?
No, I don't. Because I got all that shit out of my system. Like now I could care less about a club. I could care less about what bottle you bring to my table. Yeah, bring me a Pellegrino, please, with lime. That's the only bottle I'm drinking these days, So, yeah, I'm glad I got that out of my system at a young age where it didn't really affect my body and like as much as it would now. Like if I went clubbing now, my God, me in the gym, it would take me a week to get back in the gym, so it was able to, and also I experienced a lot and I got to know what was out there. I've eaten at all the fancy places that, a high-end steak tastes like a high-end steak wherever you go for the most part. You know what I mean? The clubs, the music sounds the same and whatever. Like it's just nothing new. So, yeah, it just allowed me to be like, okay, cool. Like I experienced this type of lifestyle for some time. And, because when I was early in my career, I had an investor, a big real estate guy in this area. And let's say I was fighting and I made maybe 10,000 for like a 6-rounder or 8-rounder or something, most likely 6-rounder at that time. He would be like, "Oh, Jules, come to my office on Monday morning. I got a gift for you. I'm so proud of you." And I go to the office and the guy will write me a check for $30,000. So I'm like, yo, I'm making more money. Like, does this guy think I'm making millions? Like, what's going, like, So like I had that stability, I also had access to his credit cards, like whatever I wanted. I was traveling in limos 2-3 times a week just to take 8 girls out to dinner, just to be cool guy. You know what I mean? I was really living fucking crazy. Like I can't wait to write a book one day because people are gonna think I'm lying. I tell these stories sometimes to people. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I used to live like fucking Jordan Belfort. And they're like, they don't believe me because a lot of times I wouldn't put that stuff out there because my promoter was following me and like my management and like the word would get out. Like if I would never post at a club or whatever because this one would tell this person would tell my team would yell at me and then make me spar 25 fucking rounds the next day. So like I had to hide all the crazy stuff I was doing, but yeah, I was doing crazy stuff, and I had a lot of pictures and stuff, but I didn't have my phone backed up. And one time I had a big party in my house and someone stole my phone. And I never was able to retrieve those pictures. And I had special pictures of my son being born and stuff like that. And that everything from like 21, no, I would say like 22 and like younger has been like erased from my life, aside from what I see on Facebook or whatever that pops up, randomly, like, hey, memories, remember this, But, I know what I did, and thank God I don't have that itch anymore or that want to do those things, Yeah, I need to invest. I need to procreate, and that's what I feel these days, I gotta be who I'm supposed to be in order to do that, though.
So, Julie, you turned pro with an amateur record of 221-9. How many big promoters were chasing you with a record like that?
Yeah, I mean, I originally I thought I was going to sign with Al Heyman because we were in talks with the Russells, like Gary Russell, because he was gonna little Gary Jr. was already signed, and he was gonna have his brothers sign, and the father wanted to package me in like that proposal. Like, hey, listen, we got this monster, we got Antoine, we got Antonio, let's all put them under this umbrella. But I think one of them lost in a tournament right before we were going to go approach, Mr. Heyman. So he wanted to wait like another 6 to 8 months to hit another tournament so that he can, approach him off of a win, being ranked number 1 in the country. And at that time, my teammate was Glenn Tapia, who was signed to Top Rank and was under Pat Lynch also. And things were just moving real quick with him at the time. He was fighting on HBO or ESPN and on HBO. And things were moving real quick. I was around him all the time because he's my teammate. So like the management is around all the time. We had Pat Lynch around all the time. We had Carl Moretti from Top Rank, vice president, around all the time. So it was just like a momentum thing. And also it was, we're both from Jersey. So it was like little bro, big bro type of thing. And so we kind of just went with that once we were ready. I think the last tournament I won was the National Golden Gloves. And then within 4 or 5 months, I was already making my pro debut under the Top Rank banner.
What do you remember about your pro debut?
I almost didn't make it to the pro debut because a month and a half before, I made a stupid decision and like tried to get on a little mini dirt bike. And I thought, oh, it's little, it's because I'm so scared of getting on that stuff. I've seen it all, but I was like, oh, this is not going to hurt me. It's a little, whatever. But my friend didn't tell me that there was a problem with the clutch.
Oh.
So like I'm here driving and I'm just keeping it, in the gear because I'm not going so fast because I'm scared. I am not, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't know how to use my balance on those fucking motorcycles. And so I'm driving, I'm in the same gear, I'm just staying in like second gear, whatever. And then I approach an intersection and I have to go to first gear. And now like I'm ready to go. I have a window to go and I'm revving it up. The bike's not moving. I let go of the clutch a little more, the bike's not moving. So I'm like, shit. And all of a sudden, I end up dumping the clutch, man. And that bike went right up under me, but I didn't let go of the throttle. So now I'm in the middle of this intersection with a bunch of cars, and I'm not trying to let go of the bike. It was my friend's bike. And I'm like, shit, like if I let this go, it's going to go down, like, whatever. So I'm chasing around. The bike's going crazy, and then the tire hits my ankle.
Oh.
Yeah, the tire, like it's jumping around this bike. I'm holding on to it, and it hits my ankle. And I guess I had so much adrenaline pumping because I was in the middle of an intersection. So I'm like, shit. Later that night, my ankle swelled up to like a softball. And that was like a month and a half before my pro debut. And I didn't tell nobody. I had to like take a few days off. I think I said like my stomach hurt or I had a stomach problem or whatever so I could stay in bed. And I don't know how I made it there. But I did. And I remember a lot of because I was young. So a lot of my I believe I was a senior in high school, and my whole grade came out to support me. It was in Atlantic City, in Bally's, on a Top Rank card, a Telemundo card. They had a deal with the Spanish channel. And I think Glenn was the main event. And yeah, it was a good time, man. It was a good time. But I just remembered it felt so much easier than what I was used to. Like the no headgear, the no shirt, and the small gloves. I just felt like I saw everything in slow motion, like moving past me. And I'm like, wow, this guy is really this slow? Oh my God. And 50 Cent was also there in the first row. I think he was scouting me because at the time he was going to start his SMS promotions. But he didn't know I was already signed with Top Rank. So, that didn't work out. And I guess for the better because, how that SMS promotions turned out. But yeah, it was a good time, man, for me to, I would get a lot of videos from people back home, like up North Jersey, because Atlantic City is down south. So, they were all having fight parties and watching me with a bunch of kids from around the area, like having huge house parties and everyone's drunk and whatever, watching me on TV. It was just so surreal. And then I noticed as soon as I got back to like my hometown and stuff, everybody wanted to be my friend. Even like guys, were like, "Hey man, yo man, we're gonna go ahead to Heights Pizza, man. You wanna come meet us?" And in my head, I'm like, I'm not even. Well, that's weird. Like I never even really spoke to you before, and now you're like calling me your bro and blah blah blah. And it was every girl in the area wanted to hang out with me, and I went fucking crazy for a little while. I experienced all those things that I never experienced before because when I was younger, I was very introverted. I was very shy. I didn't know how to talk to girls and stuff like that. So I used that stuff. I had to use hammer hands to like be confident enough to feel like I'm good enough, you know? So a lot of times I wouldn't even talk to someone, but I would have to get a nice big table at a club, and I was going to clubs even underage because I was paying to get in. Like New York is very like that. I'm sure it's like that everywhere, but I was getting into these clubs at 18, 19, 20 years old. A lot of my friends were club promoters, so they would talk to the owners and be like, this guy's on TV, he's a pro fighter, like let him in, he's gonna pay, whatever. So I would be in these clubs, and a lot of times they would see this young guy with all these fancy clothes with these bottles, and it was just so confusing and out of line at that time. Like for someone so young in my area to be doing things like that. There wasn't any Twitch streamers, multimillionaire 19-year-olds at that time. You know what I mean? So like I was like kind of one of a kind in that area for some time. So I definitely felt that, and I utilized it, and I was able to use certain things to talk for me because I was so shy, But with that, you attract a certain type of person. So I learned a lot through that too. So yeah, man, and here's the thing, I have a very supportive family. They're very smart. They all been through a lot of stuff too. But I was just very hard-headed, man. Especially me winning my whole life. And like I'm doing things that no one has done in my family or whatever, and like I'm making crazy money from these investors and from boxing. I'm fighting in the Garden and stuff. So I'm ESPN and all this stuff, and it it no one could tell me anything, you know. So it was like I had to learn. I was very stubborn. I had to learn through my own experiences, and that's what I did, man. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, a lot of poor choices. I chose a lot of wrong people for me, and I surrounded myself with a lot of negative energy throughout the years. And I'm still learning. You never stop learning, but I learned a lot of life lessons through that time. So that's why I feel like I'm so ready now. I am so ready.
Like you touched on, Julian, you've been very successful, obviously, from day one in your boxing career. So how was it when you faced Jose Pedraza and you finally took a loss?
I didn't take it how a lot of people thought I would take it. Because actually, I should have pulled out of that fight because a month before I went to camp in Vegas and I fractured my rib on my right side. And basically, I had to sacrifice my whole camp. I was going to physical therapy every 2 days. I wasn't training because I couldn't twist my torso to throw punches or like impact, punches it would aggravate the rib. So the only thing I was able to do was run in a straight line because I didn't have to turn my torso that much. And, I would do like light shadow boxing in the hotel I was in, like in a fitness center where there's 2 fucking treadmills and dumbbells. Like that was my training camp for a 2-time world champion and an Olympian. And, I deep down inside, I knew that wasn't right. Like, I'm here watching video on him and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy isn't like he's not over the hill just yet. Like he's had decent performances and I need to be like in shape. I can't just be like, and rely on my natural talent or my skill set or whatever. Like I need to be in shape and I'm going to have to dig in this fight. And, I just feel like there was a lot of my team just I think was too confident in me, or maybe just didn't know the severity of my injury because they were like, "Nah, come on, you got this. This guy's not gonna last 6 rounds with you. Come on." And I started to be like, you know what? I think you're fucking right. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm just what fighter really is truly 100% healthy going into a fight, right? So whatever. Like, and I also so because of that, because I had no camp, no sparring, no nothing like that. My weight was a problem. Like I was up maybe 12 pounds the night before or the day before, which is not really, obviously that's not good for you as a fighter. And it's not like water weight. It was like real weight because I didn't have no training. So basically, I had to cook myself in that tub and do that whole bathtub trick, where you're taking out all the water and all this stuff. And I just fried myself, man. So when I was in that fight, I wasn't even 20% of myself, man. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I learned this from the fight, or I learned this from fighting someone of his experience and stuff. Like, listen, kudos to him. You know what I mean? I don't want to take anything away from him because I look at this now as like, that's also the beauty in boxing, right? I was definitely I was the favorite. Me, ideally and respectfully, if I was not in that shape, I would have won that fight. And this is what I feel, in my opinion. But I don't think that me at 100% or even somewhere 60, 70, 80%, I felt like I would have been too much for him. But the beauty in boxing is that look what the fuck happened. Things are not promised, things are not scripted, things happen sometimes. I went in there and I thought it was going to be maybe like my flu game, my Jordan reference. Like, all right, I'm messed up and I'm not saying nothing really publicly, but like once I get through it, then people are going to know what I had to overcome. And yeah, like I had to overcome this adversity and yada yada. It didn't work out that way. And I felt like shit in the second round. I remember thinking to myself in the fight, like talking to myself, like, "Holy shit! I feel like I'm in a dream." I literally said this to myself, and I that reference is like whenever I'm in a dream and I'm trying to fight someone, there's like no power. Like it's like I'm fighting someone underwater, like there's no force in the power. And all of my fights in my dreams, I'm always like so disappointed in myself because I'm like, yo, I'm hitting this guy clean and he's fucking looking at me smiling. What? And I literally felt like that in the fight. And I was like, holy shit, like, focus up. Why are you even talking to yourself in this fight? Like, I was having whole conversations with myself in the fight. Like, I am so not focused. I wasn't confident in myself. I knew that I didn't have a camp and had no sparring. And for me, sparring is the best way that I get in shape. So I had all these things weighing on me mentally. And I just gave a shit fucking performance, to be honest. And then in the eighth round, I like went to move my head and I fell into one of his uppercuts, but he didn't turn it over all the way. So like I got thumbed in my eye and I immediately felt a pain that I've never felt in my life, but like it was on my eyeball. It wasn't like swelling or that doesn't bother me. It was like my eyeball and it stung real bad. So I'm like, oh shit, like I have a detached retina. And I was like, well, I can't believe it. This is my last fight of my career. Unreal. And I'm here fighting, and I just didn't give a shit. I didn't care. And at that point, I'm thinking of my kids. I'm thinking of like, well, this is the last fight of my career. Like, I can't open the eye. Every time I opened the eye, it burned really bad. And I saw 6 of him. So I was like, something's fucking wrong with this eye. Like, damn, I can't believe this is where it ends. So I was I was forced to keep it closed because that was the only way that I could see one of him. But now when you're closing your eye in front of your opponent like this and blinking 100 times, he knows something's wrong with you. So I could tell he knew, and he was throwing at me harder, trying to like put pressure. He knew something happened to me. And then I get back to the corner and my cut man thinks that it's a swelling issue. So he takes the cold press and just shoves it on my eye. And I was like, oh, like he didn't know it was my eyeball. So the commission comes up and is like, what's going on? And my stepdad was like, he's asking me, like, can you open the eye? I'm like, I can't open the eye. Like, when I open it, I see 6 people and it's burning. I have to keep it closed. And he waved it off. You know what I mean? As I'm glad he did. I don't have no ego, bro. Like, people will be like, oh, you're a bitch, or oh, you have no heart. I don't talk all that bullshit you want from your couch, motherfucker. I don't give a shit. Like, this is, I'm here thinking about my kids, and I'm thinking about my eye, bro, my fucking eyeball. And you hear like, oh, you're a pussy. I don't give a shit, bro. So like, yeah, and I have nothing to prove to people like that are ignorant like that. So, yeah, like, and I also knew that it wasn't my best performance. I knew why and stuff. So I just, in my mind, I was like, all right, fuck that. Like, I'm going to erase this from my mind. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to sign a new promotional deal because that was the last fight I had with Top Rank. Like, it was determined beforehand. That's why they even gave me the Pedraza fight, because if I would have won, then they would have had an option to like keep me under the contract again. So like, they were trying to lock me in again. But it was the last fight on the contract, and I actually wanted to go to a different promoter. And yeah, that's when all the trouble started with my management, And he felt a way that I didn't disclose to him in the camp that I was injured. And rightfully so. I think that he has a reason to feel that way, because there's like a lack of trust at that point. And we are in business together. So like, and he told me like, we would have pulled you out the fight and we would have postponed it for another month. You would have been okay. Like, but I didn't make the right decision at the time. You know what I mean? And he felt a way about it. He felt that I should have been open and honest with him. And it's true. I should have. But, things happened the way they did. And after that is when I ironically dealt with all my issues with management, and I was out of the ring for 3 years or whatever. And I have no issues with my eye or anything like that. It was fine. It was it's actually like a protective thing where like the floor of the eye socket will break the orbital, and so that it doesn't affect your eye. So like, it was like this little weak bone that kind of fractured. So I didn't even need surgery for it. So I'm super healthy now. Again, I moved past all that stuff, and I'm also able to perceive those moments in a healthy manner, because for a while I was so angry at this manager and what he did to me and how I lost everything because because he was trying to just teach me a lesson, I felt, or just being like, oh yeah, you don't want to re-sign the contract with me? No problem. And then like just made me chase him for paperwork and open lawsuits and things like that. I had to waste money, and I lost my apartment. I lost everything in my life, bro. Everything. And yeah, it was a dark time for me, and I was so angry, and I victimized myself on the daily basis, bro. Every day I felt, poor me. Why is this happening to me? Why is he doing this to me? Where's my team? Oh, poor me. And that's not how you grow as a man. That's not how you get through things as a man. Even if they did do something to you, no one's going to come save you. And if you sit around thinking, poor me, and victimizing yourself, you're going to get nowhere. They're going to win. Whoever wants to see you lose, they're going to be jumping up and down. I dealt with a lot of drama from women and stuff at that time because they were so happy to see me lose and shit. Like the women that are scorned from my past that I maybe broke up with or something. So they're fucking laughing, having a whole big party and stuff like that on my downfall. And these are also people that never accomplished anything in their life, but I'm going to hold my petty comments. But, it's like things like that, that I dealt with. And it took me a while to handle that in a healthy way. But I did it. And I'm so much stronger now. And I also understand the nature of the business. I don't take anything personal anymore with that about him or whatever. It's not like he didn't show me a lot of great things in my life too, or things I took away that were positive from him and his environment and his management towards me, So I'm really just in a really healthy place now, and in every way possible. Physical, mental, spiritual, uh, everything, finances, everything's in order. So I'm, the only thing left for me to do is perform under those lights. That's it.
Julian, before we get into the Zuffa topic and kind of get your experience with Zuffa so far and your experience obviously on the first event and all that, and obviously your win over Sandoval, you're in a very exclusive club if you think about it. At 16 years old, you fought Gervonta Tank Davis, not once but twice, and you beat him both times. There's not a lot of people in this world that can say that. I know, you guys weren't pros yet, but because of the type of fighter he's grown into be and one of the biggest stars in the sport, how, like, as he progressed in his pro career, how did you view him? Because you talked about earlier that, there's guys that you fought with along your journey, and some of them were driving Lamborghinis and this and that, and you're like, oh, I'm still trying to kind of catch up to them. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys who got there pretty quickly, but you beat him twice at 16 years old. What do you remember about those two wins, even at 16 years old?
Yeah, I never had ill feelings for him, and even now, you know what I mean. I know he's, he could be ignorant at times, whatever, but he took. So what happened was I did this podcast and I explained. He asked me, "Who are some big names you've been in the ring with?" And I said Manny Pacquiao. I said other names. You're Denis Ugas, Provodnikov, Danny Garcia, and then I said Tank Davis. And when I said that, the interviewer, John Rondi, he was like, "Oh, you fought Tank Davis?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I fought him twice. We were 16. We were sparring partners like for many years before that." The first fight, I dropped him in that fight, but it was such a good fight. Like, I thought I was going to come in there and like beat him up and stuff like that, because that's sort of what would happen in the sparrings. Granted, in the sparrings, most of the time I was bigger than him and stuff like that. So, but I just thought that that's how it was going to be. And he genuinely surprised me. And like, it was that day where I was like, holy shit, like this guy got a lot better. Like, he's actually progressing in the sport. And it was a great back and forth fight. I dropped him in the first round, and then he got up, and it was a tough fight. You know what I mean? Back and forth. The second fight that we did, and I won the fight. The second fight we did, he trolled me. And this was like a week before a big tournament that we had, like a national tournament that we were all going to. And he came up. Also, Vito Milnicki was fighting on that card. I think Shakur Stevenson fought on that card too. A lot of these guys are from my area, And in my mind, I was so nervous and ready for war for this second fight, because the first fight was back and forth. And he hit hard. Like, he was quick, but like his punches felt like little like bone on my face, where I'm like, yo, this shit cracks. There's different types of power where, like, you get a thudding power or someone's heavy punch, but him, it felt like someone's hitting me with an elbow, and I'm like, yo, this shit is hurting my face. But I dug deep, and I won the fight, whatever. But the second one was in a big banquet hall, and the second the bell rang, he ran to me and then immediately started running around the ring. And like laughing at me and stuff like that. So I was like, what the fuck is this? I thought it was like a trick. Like, I thought he's baiting me. So like, I'm following him, I'm cutting the ring off, and then once I get him to a rope, I'm unloading like 5, 6, 7, 8 punches on him. And then he'll laugh at me and keep running away. And he did that the whole fight. Like, he didn't even engage. He just ran and laughed at me. And then I won the fight, whatever. And we get out, and Calvin comes up to my stepdad laughing, and he's like, man, we got that big tournament in a week. We're not trying to get into any wars, man, And it was all love. Like, there was I never looked at him in a negative light, you know what I mean? And even now, like when because I did that podcast and I explained just what I just said now to you. And then there was like a specific boxing IG page that kind of chopped it up. Because at the end I said a joke, because I was like, I go, and if you don't believe me, I have it on video. You know, I said that. So like, but I'm like fucking joking around. I'm a jokester, so like whatever. But the boxing video, the boxing IG page chopped it up and made it sound like I was talking shit about him. Like, yeah, I dropped him, blah blah blah, this and that. I beat him both times, and I got the video. He cut it like that. So like, it did sound like I was talking shit. And this fucking guy got into my DMs talking about, oh, fuck you, where's your career at now? Oh, fuck your dad, and all this stuff. And he made fun of my son, like his appearance. You know, like it was like little stuff like that. So I started joking around back with him. And then when he started talking about my son, I hit him with a hard counter, and he didn't like it. And then he started saying like, "Well, pull up then. Pull up. I'll get your ticket on Monday. You're gonna come Monday. I'm gonna pay for your ticket on Monday." And it's like fucking Saturday night or Sunday. I'm like, "Yeah, I can't do Monday, bro. Like I have a life here and I have kids that I care about. So like, let's do like midweek. Can we do midweek?" And then he just never answered me. And then I sent him my number. He never answered. He didn't even open it or some shit. But I don't, you know. And I think even Coach Kenny tried to like get in the comments and try to say something, but I don't. Clearly, he wasn't at the second fight because he was like, "Nah, they didn't fight 2 times; they fought once or whatever." And like, just trying to disprove and like they made it bigger than what I intended it, bro. I'm just telling my story. You know, it's fucking true. Like I don't need a reason to lie. You're right. That is at 16 years old where it doesn't matter anymore. But it's a cool fucking story to tell, motherfucker. Like, let me tell my story. I'm not lying, and I'm not talking about you in a shitty way. Clearly, you're very successful, and clearly, like, you're on you're fucking awesome. I love your watching your fights. I fucking, you know, I have no ego, bro. But it seemed to me that he had an ego, and it seems to me, and it's very evident that, you know, he has a lot to learn in his life. And I'm no one to judge because I do too. But you know, with all that being said, regardless of whatever, and I just fucking saw that guy actually like a year before that video, like at the Caleb Plant Benavidez fight. The cameras were on him because he was getting ready to fight Ryan Garcia, and I was helping my stepdad build the ring because that's his like main business now. He builds the boxing rings for all the big shows, big companies, Matchroom, the Ring Magazine shows. So like that's his business. He travels the whole world doing shit like that. So we were in, I think it was what, T-Mobile Arena? Was it? Or MGM Grand? One of the two. I think it was MGM Grand. And as soon as he was walking down the backstage hall and he's saying hello to people, the second he caught eyes with me, he went right up to me and showed me love. And like I felt like, wow, this is a good guy, man. Like he's, you know, on top of the world right now, and he showed me a ton of respect. And vice versa. I respect him, you know what I mean? He has great skills and he accomplished a lot in the sport. And so like I was so taken back, like, bro, really? You don't know by now that boxing pages do shit like that for engagement? Like, why don't you look at the original video or like even under the one that chopped it up? I even explained a little bit myself, like, well, hold on, you know, and I kind of clarified certain things, but he went off on me, and then I left my number there. If he was serious about letting me come out, I would have did it, but he didn't answer or whatever. But with that being said, man, like I hope he gets everything together and he finds a way to bounce back from these troubles that he's having in his personal life, because I don't wish that on nobody. But what I do know is that if he has the right support system, his comeback can be fucking legendary, bro. You know what I mean? Overcoming all this to come back and do something great in the sport, you know what I mean? And show people a different side of him and show growth. It all adds to the story. You know, we've seen it time and time again with Mike Tyson, and a lot of fighters have dealt with things like that outside the ring. And you know what, man? Boxing seems to be forgiving. I hate to say it, bro. You know, no offense to any victims involved, but like, this is a fucking badass sport. You're dealing with motherfuckers are not right in the head, myself included, to some degree. You know what I mean? Like, boxers are not so. I guess aren't the models for cereal boxes anymore. You know what I mean, so to speak. So, but I hope he gets back on the grind. I wish him the best always. I don't give a fuck what he says, like bullshit, shit talking. Like for man to man, he has children, and I seen him grow up from a little boy. So like, even for me in my story, like the character he's playing in my movie, in my mind, I hope that guy wins and gets back on the horse, man. So that's how I feel.
So going to Zuffa Boxing, you were on, you're in the history books now. I mean, being on that first inaugural event on Paramount, their launch show essentially last month. Before we kind of get your experience there, how did you guys connect, or how did you and your team connect with Zuffa to be able to join them?
I have a powerful management team. They're in communication with all the major promotional companies. My lead manager, Dmitry Popov, is very personable and knows how to navigate business. He has a lot of experience in doing that and dealing with companies that have really big backings. So he knows, he just knows how to navigate business. And he's a very personable guy. And yeah, we got on the MVP show that way. He contacted Zuffa. We have sponsors lined up. We have, it was really through him, and I signed the contract with Zuffa in the beginning of 2025, and they gave us a year to fight wherever we could because they knew that their shows were going to start early 2026. And that's where we went on to fight. He reached out to MVP again because they stayed in contact after a few months because they didn't have anything for me in 2024. And they were like, yeah, we actually have an opportunity, or I believe that's the story. And yeah, they proposed this Avius Griffin. And yeah, with a one fight option. And we did that. We fought and beat him. And Dana really liked that I promoted the TKO and Dana in the post-fight interview on Jake Paul's platform. He really loved that. And so, then time came for the option. And I actually thought like, shit, well, maybe because I just derailed their new investment, their new signee, maybe they'll think about working with me. Maybe they'll throw me the bag, And again, this is very premature for like what I thought Zuffa was going to be, So like I didn't know really what was going on with Zuffa. And so they basically was like, and they kind of like kept me on the hook because after I beat Avius, the MVP Instagram page was uploading so much content about me. So I'm like, oh shit, they fucking like me. Like they're making highlight videos of the fight and I'm beating the crap out of Avius. And like, so I'm like, damn, like I guess they realize they're on board. And I saw all these things, and then I get on a plane to come back to New Jersey. And by the time I get off the plane, all the content was deleted. So I'm like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, what's going on here? And then some time went by, and they basically said, listen, the only way you'll get on another show with us, because we are going to exercise the option, but the only way is to rematch Avius, and it's going to be for this much. Now, the first fight, I took a pay cut anyway, because I valued the opportunity over, the purse. So I took a pay cut for me, someone at my level, fighting on a card like that. But I understand the nature of the game. I understand how much leverage I did and didn't have at the time. So I said, okay, cool. Let me remind these motherfuckers that who I am. And I went in there. I put on a show. Not only just put on a show, but we took over the press conference. We made it exciting. We were the most exciting fight on the card. We carried that show, Avius and I. So I felt like they better come with some fucking respect for this rematch. And they didn't. Not only did they, offer me like fucking, at first they offered me cheap, like even way less than 90,000. And it was going to be on the fucking prelims. I'm like, what? We just fought on the main card before. on the Zone, or I think the Zone, and we got a lot of exposure. Everyone was so excited about this fight. The fight was so good for boxing, and now you want to tuck it into the prelims on a show like this? What are you doing? Made no sense to me. So then they started upping. I'm like, listen, I need at least six figures. We need 150 to 200 for the rematch. You want me to give your guy a second chance? I have 2 belts right now, and I'm in the best point of my career. You want me to give your guy a second chance? I didn't, listen, I know it was in a movie scene type of fashion, but I fucking knocked you out, bro. That's it. Case closed. And it was ugly. I had you hanging on the ropes, bro. And it was a great moment, great entertaining fight, cool. But realistically speaking, they were trying to steal that fight, bro. That fight was not even going into the last round. I dominated the whole fight. He dropped me in that 8th round. Cool, I got up and continued to win the fight. I won the fight clean. And even the unofficial scorecard had me up way more than the official. But again, we're on an MVP. He's the new signee. He invested a lot in all exotic cars and cool clothes and glasses that were $450, and that he says, and all this stuff. So I get it, but basically I'm like, listen, we need this, and the fight is not going to be on the prelims, or else I'm not doing it. They didn't want to give it to me. The highest they went was 90,000, and they said, yeah, no, it's going to be on the prelims. And I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I said, okay, that's where you're cutting it off right there. No problem. Sorry, I already solidified something new. I'm gonna ride this off with Zuffa. And so we asked for the release. When they released us, we got it. And I am very grateful for their promotion team. Mike was very professional. Everyone over there was very professional. Aside Avius, and he's still bitching and moaning, but whatever. Very professional. They gave us the release. The lawyer is very professional, very good guy. And yeah, we renegotiated the contract with Zuffa, so like my minimums were a lot higher than what they were previous to the Avius fight. So yeah, I was looking at that 90,000. This guy was saying, "Oh, he turned down 90,000." Like if that was even close to what the fuck I'm making with Zuffa. So and he doesn't know that. And he made a video talking about, "Oh, he's making 75 to win. 75 to show, 75 to win." That was not my terms, brother. My contract is different than, I don't know who else has a contract like that with Zuffa. I'm not really in anyone else's business, but my contract was not set up for that. I was making more than 90,000 up front for the Kane Sandoval fight, way more than 90,000, and then I got the bonuses on top of that. So, whatever. And so I made the right decision, and yeah, now I'm here with Zuffa. The fight with Kane was a great fight, man.
Yeah, that fight, when it was announced, Mike and I at least were really looking forward to that fight, just because we, I've been following you, but also Kane's been on the show once or twice before. So that was a very interesting, intriguing matchup, even before it happened.
Best fight
Did you? What'd you say, Mike?
Best fight on the card, easily.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you feel? Because we talked about a fight earlier where you felt. Actually, it was the MVP card. Like the MVP, that was their guy. They wanted him to win. Obviously, Did you feel that maybe Kane had that advantage on the card, or did you feel it was like 50-50 in terms of like, okay, the powers that be want whoever wins 50-50. Let's see who takes it.
Well, it was kind of split within the company, because as I'm sure you guys know, half the company was the 360 promotion guys.
Yeah.
And Kane was signed with them. So the 360 promotion guys were like all for Kane, but everyone at Zuffa was for me. So, there was even people like, to this day, I remember this shit, because I was like, oh yeah? Okay. There was a woman that works at the PI talking to my manager, And she said something like, "Oh my God, like you guys are, this is going to be a good fight. Imagine if Julian upsets Kane." Oh my God. The, she struck an ego fucking nerve in me. But I just smiled and was like, "You're going to see." But a lot of the guys that work at Zuffa are actually from New Jersey. So like a lot of them were like, "Dude, we're pulling for you, man. Like the whole company's, we're riding for you all. We're Jersey. Come on, let's go." So they even told me that like 20 minutes before the fight, when I'm peeing in the bathroom, and some guys next to me like, "I'm from Jersey. We're all of us at Zuffa are pushing for you." Also like from a business perspective, I think they were hoping that I would get the win. They felt that I was more marketable or had more to offer, as far as from a promotional standpoint. Um, yeah, a lot of people were surprised that he was the favorite on the betting odds, including myself. But that stuff doesn't get to me, and I understand why there's even a question about that, or there was a question about that, and it was inactivity. And okay, yeah, I had one good performance in the last year, but before that, I was fighting once every year for 2 years. So like, people could have thought maybe it was a lucky fight or something. So cool, whatever. So I understand, and I don't take those things personal. And you know, the fight happened the way it did. I felt the way it was going to go. I knew the skill set was. I had the advantage with that. I knew he was like he was going to be a tough pressure fighter, but I was thinking since he's coming up from 40, and it doesn't even seem like he's a real 140 because, and again, respectfully, because I like him. So, but he's not built. His muscle tone is not there. You could see that there's lack of discipline somewhere in his camp, and I just felt like he wasn't ready for this level or for me. He's definitely a tough opponent. He comes to fight, and that can be mentally draining to a guy. And even if a guy is better than them, if they don't know how to handle that pressure, they'll easily break. Um, but I think he will have I mean, I think he's going to be successful regardless, but I think he'll have a better chance at progressing even further if he dropped to 135 instead of fought at 147. But I will say he could take a punch, man, because he's coming up from 140, and I truly don't believe he's a real 140. I think he's a 135, and he's taking my punches like I didn't, to be honest, I don't know if I hit him real flush with this left hook the way that I wanted to, the way I hit Avius. But I hit him hard enough, man. That motherfucker kept coming. So, kudos to him. He's a hell of a warrior, and the genuinity on his end, not just from him but from his team, his manager Oscar. Very humble people and very professional people, and it was a good night for boxing and a good night for both of our careers, honestly.
Julian, just tell us how finishing the last 2 weeks of camp was like in Las Vegas, going to the PI, and how beneficial that is and different to, other promoters that don't offer that kind of benefit.
Bro, it was life-changing. Life-changing. And like, usually I would just taper off my camp somewhere else just to lock in mentally, because I kind of have, or I thought I had things lined up the way that they should be in Jersey. But when I went over there and I started training in that PI, the UFC Performance Institute, it immediately, it made me realize, like, oh my God, there's so many levels that I can take this to just with the help of this facility. It's it really is like Disney World for combat athletes, and they have everything you need. If you miss weight there or you're not in good shape after training in that place, it's because you don't care. It's because you don't give a shit about boxing or MMA or whatever you do. There's just no way to fail in there if you just go every day. And yeah, it was life changing. After 2 days, I looked at my team and I said, I got to move to Vegas. And apparently that's like a thing. It's not like just I said that. I started looking around and I started befriending certain athletes over there, and they were like, huh, yeah, that's what everyone does. I'm here thinking like, oh, I'm gonna move my life to come here, but like everyone does that because that place is so awesome. And the atmosphere is great. You're around a lot of like-minded individuals. And yeah, it's just you don't have a fear of missing out anywhere. Like it's right down the block from the strip in Vegas. And yet, I would have so much fun just being in that PI from when it opens to when it closes. Like it has everything in there. You don't get bored. There's always something to do that's beneficial for you and your camp or your health. And the people in there, the staff is great, very accommodating and very respectful. Um, yeah, the list can go on and on. It's just where every fighter needs to be, period.
It must be just so beneficial because I'm sure like you've probably got sponsors, but your meal preps one side of Jersey, your cryos another side, your gyms another side. So you spend the entire day running around Jersey just picking up all these different things that are for free. Where in the PI, like you said, it's all under one roof and it's all provided for you free of charge.
That you hit it right on the head, brother, because that's exactly what it is, and over here in this congested fucking East Coast, it takes 40 minutes to get everywhere after 1 p.m., 2 p.m. So, it's just your day goes by so quickly. And then when I'm here, I'm also in daddy mode. So, I gotta manage like going to the gym and being violent and hitting these bags, and then 30 minutes later I'm at home singing Daddy Shark, changing diapers and shit like that. Like it's not the right mindset for me. But it's yeah, you pretty much hit it right in the head, bro. It's just a change in location. And I know that there's a stereotype or, when someone's trying to be successful, when they leave home, it almost puts a certain pressure on them that kind of it forces them into a different gear. And that's exactly what I felt this time around. I've been to Vegas 15 fucking times in my life for training and for fights and stuff. I've never felt like this about any location at any time in my career. So, and just the way that they handle everything. They have guys from the UFC and the WWE helping with Zuffa because it's the baby company for TKO Group. So, like, they have all these experienced guys, and now I'm meeting people from the UFC and WWE, and everyone is sort of like collectively rooting for each other and wishing the best for each other. And it's just where I need to be. It's where I need to be, hands down.
Have you met Nick Khan?
Oh yeah, he's a Jersey guy.
He is. Jersey. That's exactly why I asked. And he lives in Vegas now. But does he know like how big of a fan you were growing up of?
I never really had to sit down and talk with him, but we do have a very good friend in common. Actually, my family knows Tariq Ali, who was his college roommate, Nick Khan's college roommate. So like, and he owns a restaurant. I don't know how to pronounce it, brother. So Tariq, I'm sorry, but it's a Moroccan restaurant, very popular, about 8 minutes away from the airport. Tons of celebrities are going there and stuff like that. And the night before I came back to Jersey, I went over there to eat with Nick. There's like a picture on my Instagram somewhere. So if you guys want to check it out, or whoever's listening wants to check it out, you'll see it. And he also moved to Vegas at an early age. And he is so invested in boxing and boxers and loves the boxer lifestyle and boxing history and things like that. And he was showing me pictures with every boxer you could think of. And also telling me showing me old pictures with him and Nick in college and stuff like that. So yeah, and Nick came up to me at the weigh-in, the official weigh-in, not the not the show. Yeah, ceremonial. There we go. Yeah. He came up to me at the official way and was like, "Hey, man, Nick Khan, how are you? Are you from Jersey, right? Yeah, my family's from Palisades Park." And I'm like, "Oh shit, my mom's from Palisades Park." So like, there's a lot of the world is so small, But if if I wasn't, if I wasn't sure before about Zuffa or whatever, I am definitely sure now because everything is just so coincidental and everything is just lining up perfectly. And I feel like the time is now, man. The time is now.
Julian, do you think you'd be more starstruck meeting The Rock or when you met Gatti and Manny Pacquiao and those guys?
Honestly, the first time, it's hard to say because I don't get starstruck with pretty much anybody, but especially fighters because, like, since I'm 8 years old, I've been around the biggest fighters: Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao, obviously. But the first time I felt starstruck is when Dana White sat us right behind Islam Makhachev and Khabib for the for the fights at the T-Mobile Arena because I was actually studying them a lot for my camp, like throughout my camp. Not so much, technique, obviously, but more so their mindset and their way of living and how simplistic they live and how they avoid distraction and their morals and things like that. And so I try to my best to align myself so that, just training, faith, and family, and sticking to the program, like good diet, that's what was needed for me to really get the best out of the camp. And so I'm watching a lot of these videos for inspiration. And then after my fight with Kane, Dana was like, I had my son Jaden meet him, and he was like, "Oh man, whatever you guys need, whatever you guys want." And I was like, "Well, me and my son love the UFC. Like we play the UFC 5 game, like all this stuff." And I'm like, "We would love to go tomorrow." He's like, "Sure, whatever you want." And now from the boxing world, like if I told that to a random promoter or whoever promoter, I'm sure that they'll put me like, in the middle seats somewhere, whatever. Dana put me right there, second row, bro. Me and my son, and I was so like such on a cloud nine, man. Like everywhere I looked was like a celebrity fighter. I was sitting next to Michael Chandler. Over here in front of me is Amanda Nunes and her kids fucking running around and whatever. Like then next to her was Kamaru Usman. Then obviously in front of me was Islam and Khabib, and I was just so like, why I was starstruck because my son loves the UFC. So like being able to provide something like that for him and seeing his face and seeing how much of a good time he was having and also like the stories I'm sure he's going to be able to tell in 20 years or whatever, that is what made me so excited about that moment. Yeah, I think that's what it is now. Before this interview, I just was like, yeah, I was starstruck. I love those guys, and I'm so used to seeing famous boxers, whatever, But like the UFC guys and like the way that Dana had that show, oh my God, man! I've been to 100 shows, 100+ shows in my life, boxing, whatever. I've never been to a show like that UFC show, that the way the production was, the light shows they have there, just the atmosphere, the fans, hands down the best show that I've been to for combat sports. And the headliner wasn't like a superstar crazy fight, you know what I mean? It was a big fight, but they seem so supportive, man. And the way that Dana has grown this brand, it's remarkable. It's remarkable to see his progress and to see what he's done in business and let alone in the fight industry.
Did he have anything to say to you, Julian, after you win and kind of calling him out for the bonuses?
Yeah, he was, he just kept telling me, "Wow, what a great fight," this and that. And then he tapped into saying like, "Hey, listen, it's pretty mandatory that after the fights, all my fighters, they got to go get checked. No one has ever died or suffered any serious crazy injury in the UFC under my watch, and I don't plan for that to happen with Zuffa. And you guys were in there. It was a hell of a fight. we need you guys to go get checked. All right, buddy? So I was like, of course, man, whatever you want, bro. You tell me, So yeah, man, it was so cool. But I do anticipate getting to really sit down and talk with him and understand also what he wants for the Zuffa brand and what type of energy he wants and what he wants or expects from me. Because I understand this is a business, but also I know that his guidance would lead me to a level that I probably can't even imagine sitting here today. Trusting his judgment, and I'm sure it'll motivate me like crazy to sit down with him and like I wouldn't even. It's just crazy to think about where I was like 2-3 years ago, and then like Dana's fucking hugging my son, taking selfies and shit, like while they just watch me fight, and then he gives me the bonuses and crazy stuff. I'm in the hospital bed after I get checked, ready to be released from the hospital, and I'm there with my team, and there's like the room is split by a curtain, so there's one person here and one person on the other side. I don't know who's on the other side, and I'm talking with my team. I have my two managers, my coaches, and all of a sudden I get a text from my mother's uncle Donnie, and he goes, "Hey, hell of a fight, kid, whatever. And yeah, man, you deserved that bonus. Like, good job." And I was like, oh shit, I think I got the bonus. I think I got the bonus. And I'm telling my team, and I fucking hear a voice from the other side of the sheet going, "We did?" And it's fucking Kane. Bro, what a wholesome moment. Because I was like, I wasn't talking to this guy, but I'm like, wait, we did. That's Kane in there? Yeah, like, yo, what a great moment, And I was like, come on, yo, we got to take a picture like Gotti Ward and like in the hospital bed next to each other and stuff. So we took that picture. I put it on Instagram, and that's a picture that I'm sure both of our children will, have on the wall in their house one day.
Two bonuses.
He's a great guy. He had a lot of kind words for my son. I wish him the best, man. He's a cool guy.
Absolutely. Well, Julian, we know it's a little late on the East Coast, and we know you're always in daddy mode, especially when you're home over there. So, you gave us a lot of good words of your career and obviously your experience with Zuffa. And we definitely appreciate you coming on, especially coming to talk about your experience with Zuffa, signing with them, and just so far your journey with them, because it is a new avenue for professional fighters. So there's a lot of fighters who are going to listen to this, or a lot of people in the boxing business who are going to listen to your experience. So we definitely appreciate that. Before we sign off here, Julian, do we have an anticipated return date to the ring for you?
Just got the call this morning, brother, and it's
Can you say it?
Summer.
If you can't say it, you don't need to say it. But
I can't. I don't want to put it out there because it's not confirmed yet. Like,
okay.
I'll be ready for this date. I'm looking to get back to Vegas in about like 4 weeks. But and also I want to stay ready. This way, like if there's any pullouts, Dana. Yeah, that's it. I'm trying to come through. Like, I need to be in shape all year round. Like, I need to put in the work. But the only reason is because I'm not sure if the opponent accepted the fight yet. Zuffa offered the fight to me. I definitely accept the fight. You know what I mean? I definitely accept the fight, but and the date and everything and the terms, the purse, whatever. But I don't know if the other team did, so I can't really like say it. But the potential date is May 10. I will say that.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah, first they were telling me June, but because I said what I said in the interview after the fight, we're like, I'll be back at the gym on Monday. Let's go, Dana. He was like, oh yeah? Okay. So, my manager told them we'll be ready for anything after April. But so they came back with May 10.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I want to have at least 4 fights this year, And if this next one goes quick, which put your money on the first 3 rounds. If this fight goes quick, I want to have, bring me right back. You know what I mean? I need to be active, and that's what I care about. I need to kind of dust off these cobwebs still. I still haven't shown 100%. I'm still trying to get back to who I know I can be,
Absolutely. Activity, man. Activity.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Go ahead and Julian, before we sign off, go ahead and let everybody know where they can keep up with you on your social channels and everything.
So at Team Hammerhands on X and on Instagram. My TikTok is Hammerhands TV, although I don't really use TikTok too much, but I got to change that. You could search me up, Julian Rodriguez, on Google, and you'll see everything that comes up. I really appreciated this interview. It was very, it was a good time for me. I know we were here for almost 1 hour, 40 minutes. That's crazy, but it was really easy to talk to you guys about my story, and you guys are great. You guys ask great questions, and I'm sure your viewers and my viewers would really enjoy this interview. And I look forward to more interviews, as time goes on, as this year goes on. And whenever you guys need me, I'm one phone call away, and I really appreciate everything, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And when you're in Vegas or like even the LA area, or at least the West Coast, because we're over here in like Southern California, LA area, we go to Vegas too for the fights. Hopefully we can connect in person. We can do an in-person interview with you in the future, man.
For sure, man. No doubt about it.
A random one, Julian. Would your stepdad be interested in coming on as a coach?
Yeah, of course.
Setting up the ring.
Of course, yeah, hell yeah. And he's very funny too. My God, so you guys will be laughing the whole time.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, we'll coordinate that, man, because especially with him kind of bringing you up like that as a coach and just kind of bringing you up the ranks like that, but also the business that he has in setting up the rings. There's a lot of stories he probably has, so that's pretty.
Oh my God, so many! It's crazy that no one has actually wanted to interview him about this before. He's kind of low key about it, but he has tons of stories. We have tons of stories about it because I've helped him from the ground up for this company, for that company, and occasionally I still help him with the ring now. I'll help. There's been times where I'm so involved with boxing where like there's been times I've helped him build the ring, fought in the ring, and then like after my fight, and then I'm doing commentating for the rest of the fights. Like I'm all over the place, bro. I'm Mr. Boxing Man. So, there's so many stories, man. We've been on this phone for this time, and we haven't even scratched the surface.
You'll come back, man. You'll come back. You're welcome back anytime, and we'll coordinate something in the future again.
Yes, sir.
Mike, as we cross the finish line here, go ahead and let them know where they can find us and follow us.
At The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter, and shout out Dimitri for setting us up, and I apologize, Dimitri, for keeping him for nearly 2 hours.
Yeah. We'll try to be quicker next time, but it was a good flow, and Julian obviously has a lot to say, and he talks very well. So the podcast listeners definitely appreciate that. We can tell you that. Awesome. So for our guest of the week in the 25-1 with 15 KOs, Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez, who returns hopefully in the next couple months to a Zuffa boxing card near you. For my co-host Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.